I was just wondering if you could provide some additional details around the church gathering provision you mentioned earlier on in the briefing for the indoor gathering, some details on what that will look like. And I know people often link these two. Is there any update on when movie theaters may be able to open up under some certain provisions?
Yeah, so there's two, those are quite different things. And when we're talking about faith and religious-based services, we know that there are special considerations that need to be taken under our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So I think that is a very important measure that we take very seriously. So religious and faith gatherings are under a different category. And yes, what we've done through this dialogue is the order will, it's a variance, what we call a class variance for all religious services that will allow indoor services on 4 days between Sunday, March 29th and Thursday, May 13th. So that's the period of time that I mentioned that covers many of the important holidays for a number of different faith groups, whether it's Passover, Easter, Ramadan, Vaisakhi. So each faith will identify the days that are most appropriate for their faith. And that whatever it is, and the maximum capacity will be 50 people or 10% of the allowable space or the space available, whichever's less. And so we'll be going back to very similar conditions to what we had last October, November. And when we had discussions with faith leaders, we all recognized that this was a step forward, that this virus doesn't recognize where we are in an indoor setting, but that we needed to try and take steps together to allow for some of these important services to be celebrated. So that's how we're going to do it for now. And we're going to use the experience of how things worked, what things worked for different groups in different settings, and use that to come together again through dialogue and develop our plans for the future to going back to full in-person faith services. So it is a trial period, if you will, recognizing that we have this commitment to faith and religious services that is very special and important.
Richard's last question there about details on the temporary indoor religious services. How long will the services be allowed to last for? And what is the measuring stick that would allow them to continue beyond a one-time variance? What would be a success and what would mark the failure?
Yeah, so we've allowed, so there can be different services require different periods of time, so we've not put a time limit in, but there's a time between if people want to have an Easter service on Easter Sunday, for example, they can have more than one group, but there needs to be a time in between so that there's not mixing of people, etc. So we'll be looking at how things work. There'll be a couple of things that will measure success, and part of it will be ensuring that there's no transmission, which we had seen and actually continue to see in some venues, but also that the faith leaders are able to effectively have the services that they want, that they're comfortable, that people are protecting each other appropriately and being able to do it appropriately. So we'll be monitoring all kinds of things. I think there's the things that I've learned in the dialogues we have been very helpful in understanding the unique needs of different communities and services. So we'll be looking at which are the things that worked and which things we need to modify going forward. But my hope is, and to the last week notwithstanding, that as we protect more and more people, we'll be able to safely come together in ways in person, inside. But right now, between now and the end of April, early May, is going to be a very difficult time for us, and we need to really focus on those things that we can do safely. So that means if you're used to having a Easter supper at home and having your family together, this is not the year to do that. This is not the year to have Passover suppers. This is not the year to have Ramadan with your family coming together, or large groups of people coming together in your home. We need to continue to keep each other safe as we go through these next few weeks, as more and more people are protected.